the automotive industry, but the rosy prospects were soon faded when the sales did not reach its intended target. So where does the incumbent rechargeable battery makers fit into this picture, and what can they do to overcome the challenges facing the electric vehicle industry? A very good morning, everyone. I'm Ruchi, and these are my teammates, Sahal, Samuel, and Jeremy, and we are Business Solutions. And we are here today to answer exactly these questions. So let's first look at how electric vehicles transform the automotive industry. So the push for electric vehicles came from external factors. Firstly, the environmental problems that were facing the world. The gasoline-powered vehicles were creating huge environmental problems due to air pollution and immense amount of carbon dioxide emissions. Carbon dioxide emissions increased by 200% in the last 60 years, and this led to strengthening of regulatory policies, and which led to a pressure to find innovative ways to overcome the challenges that came from electric vehicles. The second reason is, of course, economical. High oil prices are always a concern. Another concern is high dependency that countries now have on imported oils. It's only worsened by political instabilities in OPEC region, which is the Middle East region, highest oil producing region, and any kind of political instability increases oil prices even further. The third pressure, and immense pressure, is from the government, which are introducing new standards of fuel efficiency and emission standards. So what happened is that US and Europe has come up with a new standard, which leads to us seeing the government pushing for less than 95 gram per kilometers of carbon dioxide emissions by 2020. And also California is pushing for zero emission vehicles in the future, which means that companies will now have to increase their efficiency of vehicles by 10% by 2015, and also they have to increase the total car sales for electric vehicles by 4.5% of the total car sales. So what this does is that it increases the need to move away from gasoline-powered vehicles and go towards electronic vehicles. And the industry responded well to this, because we can see that there was heavy investments in electric vehicles. What happened is that automobile manufacturers came into the picture. Honda, Toyota, Ford, they all came in with electric vehicles. And what it did is it created a playing field for our companies, the incumbent rechargeable battery manufacturers. So these are guys who shifted from IT batteries to making rechargeable batteries for electric vehicles. So we can see that there are 4 key players in the industry right now: Panasonic, LG Chemicals, Samsung, and AESC. So these players have individual contracts with different automobile manufacturers. Panasonic has contracts with Toyota and Telsa. LG has exclusive contracts with Hyundai. We can see Samsung in a joint venture with Bosch, and AESC has a contract with Nissan. So let us move on and see the whole dynamic of this electric vehicle industry. So the push factors are favorable. We have favorable external factors from government, economic, and environmental. But why is this industry not progressing? There is just not enough pull from the consumers. So what we see is less demand from the consumers because of high prices of electric vehicles, low speed and range available in the market, and also the lack of infrastructure, which is very important. We need charging stations if we have to use electric vehicles, and that kind of infrastructure is just not present currently. So what it does is that we can see sales not meeting targets, and electric vehicles only contributed to 3% of the total sales of vehicles as of now. So we can see that rechargeable batteries is a major factor affecting cost and performance of electric vehicles. And why is that so? Because they take up a large portion of production cost and fuel efficiency of a vehicle. So we need to have an advancement in the battery to actually advance electric vehicle in the future. So the challenges faced by incumbent battery makers today are a wide range. Firstly, in the short term, we see that their business model is threatened. And why is this so? Low-cost Chinese newcomers are coming into the market, and there's a risk of erosion of market share of these incumbents. Another reason is that they have no expertise in making rechargeable batteries for automobile because they have just shifted from making IT batteries. So there's a huge scope of increasing that expertise in the future. And therefore, there's a need to review our supply chain to make it leaner and to better utilize this supply chain to meet demands in the future. And in the long run, we see that there's a lack of demand from consumers for electric vehicles, and this is absolutely crucial for our growth because if there's no demand for electric vehicles, there's no way we are going to manufacture rechargeable batteries. So we see that these two reasons combine to show that the biggest factor is a lack of bargaining power that we have in our supply chain. We do not have direct control on our consumers, and we do not have the same strong bargaining power on the automobile manufacturers. Therefore, the incumbents need to consolidate their position in the market, and also they need to find strategies to grow the industry as such in order to grow themselves. Therefore, allow me to present to you our strategies for today. Firstly, we will help you consolidate your position in the short term and grow the industry in the long term to make sure that the incumbent players today have a secured future growth. Now, Jeremy will take over with the first strategy.
Thank you, Ruchi. Our first strategy today talks about consolidate, where we'll be analyzing in detail your whole supply chain from that of upstream to downstream, identify 3 key issues that are affecting your supply chain, and recommending 3 key solutions to help you consolidate your supply chain to make it even better. Let's first take a look at the supply chain of your company, which is EV battery manufacturer. The supply chain can be split mainly into both downstream and upstream. We'll first talk about downstream, whereby the key players, the key clients that you're working with are the automobile manufacturers such as Toyota, Ford, and GM. They are the purchasers of the batteries and hence is a key important stakeholder in your business. In the downstream business, we're also looking at sub-part suppliers because as EV battery manufacturer, these players are predominantly strong in the small battery segment, such as that of batteries for iPhones as well as tablets. But the battery for car segment is actually something new for you. And having a strong supply chain in the downstream by having collaboration with sub-part suppliers is very crucial in your business. So today we have identified 3 key issues with your current supply chain model. The first issue is the entrance of new low-cost Chinese manufacturer. Your market has always been that of an oligopoly dominated by 4 key players. However, the entrance of new low-cost Chinese manufacturer is disrupting the market right now. What we see here is companies such as Lishan and One coming in as new manufacturers for EV batteries and stealing contracts away from you when they have formed joint ventures with other automobile manufacturers such as Kola and Wanxiang. So the implication here is how should these incumbents react to this new competition, and should they reduce their costs to compete against them head-on, or should they adopt other strategies? We think we can help with that today. The second issue that we've identified is with that of the upstream segment. We believe that EV battery manufacturer incumbents currently have a lack of expertise in producing the EV batteries that's required for automobiles because it's inherently different from that of the iPads as well as the mobile phones. So what it means also is that there's a lack of access to raw materials because the raw materials required for EV battery suited for a car is actually very different from that of the small batteries. One such example that I can give you is the size of the batteries. One is small size for mobile phones, whereas the EV batteries for cars is significantly much bigger. And that also means that the materials as well as the volume that's required to make up these batteries are different. So we'll see at how you can improve the supply chain by looking at possible vertical integration with your downstream sub-part suppliers. The third issue that we find is that with the upstream market, where we realize that as an EV battery manufacturer, you are highly dependent on the automobile manufacturer. One such example is that of AESC, when initially they formed a joint venture with Nissan. But upon different market conditions, they are breaking up the joint venture and looking at a dual sourcing mechanism where they are sourcing out for different other manufacturers for the batteries. That's because of the changing market dynamics. And we look at how you can improve your position as incumbents to better improve the bargaining power with that automobile manufacturers. So with these 3 key issues identified, we will tackle them one by one. The first issue is that of the threat of the low China substitutes. This is the most immediate threat that incumbents are facing, and we believe that it's most important to tackle that firsthand. So we analyzed and come up with 3 different alternatives that your company can adopt in reaction to these new Chinese competitors. The first is to compete head-on by lowering price points immediately. This is followed by another extreme whereby you can maintain your continuous high price points as what you have been doing and keep your status quo by ignoring the competition from the Chinese competitors. In the middle, we identify a hybrid strategy where you can propose stopgap measures in the short run to tackle that of the threats, and in the long run continue to improve in innovation because that is your unique value proposition. We have compared these three alternatives based on these three matrices: profitability measured by net income, quality of batteries that you can produce for automobiles, as well as that of the long-term alignment in terms of marketing and branding strategy with that of your automobile manufacturers. So with that, we have come up with a conclusion whereby lowering price point is not a viable solution because it essentially decreases your profitability significantly. This is a big issue because, especially with high cost, decreasing price point significantly will mean that profitability is threatened. The other extreme is where we maintain high price point, and this has huge implications because the price of the EV batteries have been decreasing significantly over years, and if you continuously maintain your high price point, it could affect your top line revenue and hence your net income. So we don't think that this is a long-term viability option by ignoring competition, and hence we propose the second option of stopgap measures with long-term focus. Allow me to elaborate on what we think is the short-term gap measures that we can propose for you. First is that we don't think that decreasing price drastically is the right way to go forward. Instead of decreasing price, we look at improving the solutions that we can provide for our customers. What we see is that discounts for future services required could be a good strategy to give incentives for our automobile manufacturers to enter into contracts with us with the incentive of coming in the long run. Another recommendation that we have is the emphasis on customization and quality of batteries that we can provide for the automobile manufacturers. We understand that different automobiles have different dimensions as well as different specifications. So the battery that's provided for these brands are highly crucial, and these companies can actually focus on customization and quality instead of decreasing price points. This short-term stopgap measure is expected to last for 2 to 3 years, as per research have shown that a 2 to 3 years period is required before innovation drives greater amount of technological innovation. And in the long run, what we propose is that EV manufacturers should change its business model on not just emphasizing on selling the product, which is the batteries, but more of a product plus service bundling. And this is increasingly a business model that's adopted by many industries, such as smartphones as well, where they are looking at not just the product, but also the suite of services that they can provide them. In this case of automobile industry, we see that batteries is not just the only product that you can gain revenue from. It's the services that come after the provision of the batteries that can give you greater amount of revenue. And this also means that you can have increase in the contract of commitment with the automobile companies, because we are looking at a 5 to 10 years commitment with automobile companies by binding them on the purchase of batteries as well as the provision of services such as maintenance, as well as spare parts provision for the different EV batteries, as well as upgrades that's required if there's any improvement in technology. This is a form of hedging strategy whereby we are logging in for a long-term contract, which is known as a forward, and also allows quality assurance and greater collaboration with the automobile stakeholders. The second issue that we are tackling is the lack of expertise in the automobile industry. We have mentioned that these incumbents are predominantly highly specialized in small batteries, and the big batteries that's required for EV cars are actually very different. So what we suggest is in the short term to spin off your business. We look at LG Chemical as an example, and we understand that LG Chemical has different departments, with EV batteries only forming a small segment because of its new foray into this segment. What we see here is that there's a need to focus on EV batteries in the coming long run if it wants to reap the benefits. So on short term, we propose that these big companies have a spin-off in terms of their department specializing in EV batteries, and in the mid to long run, look at possible vertical integration with the sub-part suppliers of EV batteries in specific. So some of the sub-part suppliers that you can do possible vertical integration includes suppliers for cathodes, anodes, which are materials that's crucial for the transfer of energy between the plus and the minus, as well as that of BMS, which is a battery management system provider that specializes in measuring the performance of the batteries within the cars itself. Next, we look at the last issue, which is the poor bargaining power in a highly competitive environment within the EV battery market. There are 3 key players right now. There are 4 key players right now, constituting 81% of the market share: Samsung, SDI, LG Chemical, Panasonic, ASC. This is a highly competitive environment whereby every single manufacturer actually formed an individual joint venture with the automobile industry. We believe that with the drawdown in terms of the demand for EV cars, there's a need for consolidation. So what we propose here is that instead of individual joint ventures of EV battery manufacturer with individual automobile industry, not only there's need for vertical integration, there is also potential for horizontal collaboration within the same industry. What we propose is that companies that share synergy, especially that of the same geographical region, such as Samsung and LG Chemical in Korea, could actually potentially look at collaboration together to bid for same contracts with automobile manufacturers such as Toyota, which is the biggest player in the EV market right now. This joint JVs increase pricing power and also look at strengthening the business model and positioning of the whole market itself. So in conclusion, we analyzed the whole supply chain, picked up 3 key issues, and proposed improvement in the upstream by vertical integration, downstream through horizontal collaboration within the same industry, as well as some product and service bundling that can improve your positioning in the provision of services and products. I'll now pass on the time to how to talk about our second strategy.
Alright, thank you, Jeremy. So basically what my colleague has shared with you is how to consolidate and maintain your market share, which is extremely important in the short run. However, for the longer term, we will look at something a little more exciting, which is for you, the incumbents, to take a leadership in growing the electric vehicle industry as a whole. So moving on, what we propose to grow the industry is a strategic alliance between the top 4 players, which constitute 81% of the market. We feel that alliance between EV manufacturers can drive commitment towards driving growth in the EV market with increased bargaining power to developing new ways to increase consumer buy-in of electric vehicles. And we try to do so through 2 key thrusts: innovation as well as developing of infrastructure. So why do so? Well, basically, your growth ties very closely with the adoption of electric vehicles, and we see the greatest benefit in growth. You will see the greatest benefit in growth as the key market.
3 minutes left.
Yes. So the feasibility of alliance we feel is very, very feasible, building on the trust from the initial joint ventures proposed by Jeremy, as well as your largely exclusive contracts with automobiles. So moving on, our 2 key trusts. Firstly, innovation. We feel that you should innovate together to develop new electric batteries which can drive greater performance, as well as developing infrastructure for charging stations at growth markets such as US, Japan, and Europe. So our first is innovation. We feel that the key barriers for you to driving innovation is capital intensity, as well as a long time frame and a lack of resources. Collaboration helps you resolve all of those issues. So we feel that you should develop an innovation team across all players based in Korea to leverage off LG and Samsung's facilities. We feel that you can do so on a project basis to manage scale and autonomy, and to launch the technology across agreed contracts between all players. Next of which is the developing of infrastructure. We feel that the lack of charging stations right now is a key barrier towards industry growth, and we feel that we can do so in Europe as a test market due to high EV adoption as well as strong environmental friendly support. We can identify towns and cities with high EV penetration to install a network and collaborate to ensure compatibility across all players. Basically, your charging stations must service all stations or service all players. So with all of this, we feel that you'll be able to grow the category and drive growth for all EV manufacturers.
So now let me touch on the financials, which everyone is interested in. This projection is based on several banks as well as survey companies, and is projected to grow at an average we're looking at 19.3%. Under the backdrop of increasing oil prices and a condition in the market, we believe that with our recommendation, you will be able to reach a growth CAGR of 19.3%. Because what we go about doing so is to target technology advancement and also to work with other stakeholders to build up this whole industry.
Team, 1 minute left.
And also, we have touched on implementation timeline. We have looked at what you can do going forward up to 2020. And the next thing, the most important thing for you right now is to start off and think what you're going to do tomorrow. We believe that right now, the most important thing is to form a project team to oversee the spin-off, as well as to look at the marketing team to look at the sales and the sales promotion and the bundling offers that we are looking at. And now let me touch on the risk and mitigation. We have identified several risks in terms of probability and impact. To touch on briefly, let me touch on the third point, which is unwillingness of incumbent to collaborate. We believe that this probability is medium and high. However, to mitigate this point when they refuse to collaborate, we'll simply focus on one party to form a one-to-one collaboration and build on the clout as well as bargaining power, and from there draw on the other parties to increase this clout and our bargaining power.
In conclusion, by first consolidating
Sorry guys, your time is up. Thank
you
you very
so
much.
Well, I'm going to give you some generic general comments on each of these slides. I'll leave the very sharp questions to the judges. Time management. I cannot say enough about time management because obviously you have a lot of good stuff, good content at the very beginning. I would love to see a lot more on your risk and implementation, but you run out of time. So it's very obvious to the judges and the audience that you're rushing. So that's never a good position to be in. Second point, we are asking you to use the most basic form of presentation, slides and handwriting. There's a reason. Because we want to see how detail-minded you are. And within the first 3 slides, I spotted 2 spelling mistakes. Now, you really need to get the basic right because you put up the slides to expect people to read it. And once you see spelling mistake, you thought a bit, you need to pay more attention to it. But in general, your verbal presentation is very efficient, so well done.
Thank you.
Very good articulation of the analysis of the situations. The framework I quite liked in terms of the you went about it, providing different alternatives and the solution to that. Maybe the point which I want to understand better, which is you have come up with a particular strategy. You mentioned a few risks to the strategy in terms of the implementation risks. Is there anything, for example, which you might think come across as a hurdle from a regulatory point of view, given the fact that strategy is driven largely by collaboration, consolidation, etc.?
Yes.
Is it going to be falling foul of 2 things, the anti-competition laws, and B, there are no current standards in the whole industry, unlike in case of the standards available which are regulatory driven on the traditional IC car engines. What happens if in the future there happens to be a global standard issued by the relevant authorities which completely derails the plan which you have?
Okay.
Do you understand the question clearly, or do you want?
Yes, we do. So basically, what you're suggesting that in the future, when regulatory laws come in for anti-competition, this could derail some of the plans which are largely centralized on collaboration. We understand this, but we feel that on a more short-term basis, while these laws are not yet in place, we feel that we can really use collaboration to drive 2 key things: the creation of infrastructure as well as the development of more user-friendly products. And these would probably take place in a span of about 2 to 3 years' time. Subsequently, if the laws do come into place, we can take contingency measures to solve that issue out. But in the meantime, you as incumbents would have benefited from greater technology to use to bid for your contracts, as well as greater infrastructure to drive the EV market as a whole. So even if that comes in, you already benefited from this collaboration.
To add on to my colleague's answer, to your second question on the importance of the need to have more interaction if there's a global standards that is put in place, we understand that that is a very inherent risk, and that's why in our second recommendation on growing, we are looking at creating a strategic alliance, not just within the EV battery market industry, but also engaging different stakeholders such as that of the government and the regulations in creating that global standards. So in a way, we are looking at pioneering that global standard in collaboration with regulations, and we believe that that is the strategy that can revolutionize and help push for greater improvements within the electronic vehicle market.
Any concerns on the potential challenges from the anti-competition laws if you are basically relying upon all the players collaborating together?
We actually did discuss this in room, and we said one thing that people would definitely be afraid of is if you do a cartel, if you do price collusion. So that is definitely something that we want to stay away from, and we want to funnel the collaboration largely towards innovation, which is done in other industries such as the automobile industry itself, as well as the development of infrastructure, which benefits governments and countries as a whole. So we see that this was not that much.
And I think one of the mitigation measures is to be transparent. this collaboration will be very transparent in the sense that this is particularly driving innovation, but which one thing we have to understand is the players working alone can no longer transform the industry. We need infrastructure. No one player can actually provide that infrastructure unless automobile industries and EV players come together to actually drive growth of the electronic vehicle industry in general. Because right now we're just focusing on individual battles, which is going nowhere because electronic battery makers need the car sales to be in place for them to even manufacture the batteries in the first place. So this is a very collaborative arrangement where one player cannot survive without the another, and we understand this dynamics, and therefore that's the reason why we are pushing for this collaboration in the future. And yeah, thank you.
I think you guys did a very good job of identifying the key issues right up front, particularly the demand issue, which is a big challenge for the whole industry. But at the same time, you left your answers for that towards the end. And we ran out of time, so you told me, you said this is the most exciting part, and I'm still waiting for that answer. So maybe you can help me with a few things. One is you spent a little bit too much time talking to me about the consolidation, and one of your solutions was this idea of combining products and services. Just can you flesh that out for me a little bit more, what you meant by that? And then a second question as a follow-up will be about this idea of spinning off the company. So on one hand, you're talking about you need to do a lot of R&D, a lot of investment, because you decided you're not going to cut prices. You're going to have this stopgap type of strategy. But if you spin it off, there's no money. So it's inconsistent. So I just wanted to get a better sense of what you meant.
Understood. All right, Jeremy, you just...
Okay. For the first question on product and service bundling, I think this is a huge change from the current business model right now, where you're focusing on just selling per number of products. For example, the number of units that you sell for batteries will predominantly form your top line revenue. And now we are looking at a different packaging where we are selling not just products but also services. And this is a long-term contract from 5 to 10 years with automobile manufacturers, whereby we are looking at purchasing numbers of batteries together with the services that come together with batteries, such as providing of maintenance of the batteries for these vehicles if these vehicles break down or actually requires maintenance after some wear and tear over a period of 5 to 10 years, or is it the upgrading of the different spare parts within these batteries itself. So we see that as a very potential market that you can combine together with that of products to secure more important contracts with that of the automobile dealers that we are looking at.
Just a quick question. Is there any other product or industry where they combine services with batteries? I don't know, my battery in my mobile phone never works really that well, but there's no service for it. I don't think about service. So what services are you thinking of providing that would actually make a difference? And more importantly, answer the question with the problem, which is this demand problem.
Okay, I think the services that we are looking at for EV batteries is actually significantly different from that of the small batteries, because if a small batteries break down, you can easily change a phone because the lifespan of a phone is approximately 2 years, for example. But that of a car is significantly different because we are looking at 10 years to 20 years kind of ownership. And it has been shown that throughout this 10 to 20 years, there's required of different kind of services, especially that of electric vehicle, because it's a new technology, plus it hasn't been proven whether or not it can last for 10 to 20 years. So the extra services that we see here is driven by demand from consumers, and we see that as a potential market that you as an EV battery manufacturer can provide for automobile manufacturers.
How do you pay for that?
Paying for that.
So you guys offer me a great service to replace batteries,
Yeah.
but to me, that sounds expensive. How am I going to pay for that?
Actually, the cost of it is essentially replacing spare parts that you have in the construction of the battery. Now what we are looking at is just creating another channel whereby you can make revenue from. So in terms of the cost that's required to procure these supplies and bolts and nuts, it's still the same ones that you use to construct the battery, and we see that as very mutually beneficial in a way for these two channels to push together.
And if I may add, for the whole battery organization, we have filling of electrolytes. Usually that's the one that run out, or the metallic plates that run out wear and tear really fast. So these are the parts that are relatively cheap. The more expensive part comes in the whole structure, the battery management. So in terms of cost-wise, we believe we are able to provide this service to the customers at an affordable price. Furthermore, right now our factories are operating at 70-60 over utilization rate. So in terms of capacity wise, we can do it. In terms of cost wise, we can afford because it's relatively cheap. So we believe that with these two factors in place, we are able to service our clients in that aspect.
And then just very quickly, so you wanted to do the spin out, to me that means that you need money. Seems a little inconsistent.
Okay, so the spin-off is actually just a legal structure where we're proposing a specific team that specializes in focusing on EV batteries. In terms of its relationship with that of its parent company, we still see that as a strong link, whereby the parent company of LG Chemicals will still own 100% ownership of this spin-off company. And in terms of assets and cash required for investments, this will still be predominantly financed by the main company itself. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.